Welcome to Prayers of Resistance, a third iteration of our Ridgewood podcast, 10 Minutes at the Table. This is a digital offering from and for Ridgewood Baptist Church, though as always, all are welcome here. This season, we're hoping this will be a space where faith meets courage and where prayer becomes an act of hope. Hi, I'm Motley Schulte-Tucker. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the pastor of Ridgewood Baptist Church in Louisville, Kentucky. In these next 10 minutes, though some of these are a little longer than 10 minutes, we'll reflect on what it means to resist despair, injustice, and silence. And we'll end with a prayer to encourage you, uphold you, and take with you as you continue to faithfully resist injustice in the world. Pull up a seat. Welcome, Reverend Sally.
Thank you, Molly.
We're so glad you're here at Ridgewood with us.
It is really great to see where you are in the Louisville world. I discovered you.
Yes, on this rainy day.
Great to be here.
Thank you for sharing your time and your stories with us. So I'm going to ask you first, can you tell us a story about what hope looks like for you right now?
Last Friday morning, it was a sunny day, unlike today. It was a beautiful sunny day at 8:30 in the morning, and I found myself in like a basement room of Christ Church Cathedral in downtown Louisville on 2nd Street. Mm-hmm. The room had just recently been vacated by women who were spending the night there with room at the inn. And then came in these faith leaders from all over Louisville. It wasn't a huge group, but it was a group of Catholic, Jewish, Hindu, Presbyterian, Baptist, all in the mix. And for the next about hour and a half, we prayed. We had some coffee and minimal beverage, minimal refreshments. We had this Hindu teacher show us what it's like to participate in an ancient Hindu chant, Hare Krishna, which translates to, "O Lord, engage me in your service." And then we heard from a Baptist minister who talked about how breath is acknowledged and seen in various faith traditions, and just that idea of the breath of God and how that ignites us to action. And when I left, my cup was full, and I don't know what, Molly, the solution is to all the things, that what perfect hope looks like, but I know that's part of it. I know that moment of us coming together as faith leaders across Louisville, and it gave me such hope.
Yeah, I really love that about connection to one another and to your own body.
Yeah.
I think that is how we resist sometimes, is to stay connected. So I'm going to ask you, how do you stay grounded when resistance feels exhausting?
These are such good questions, my friend. We could talk about these a long time. But the first thing that comes to mind is a quick anecdote. I once created this humorous video. It was about this woman who was making New Year's resolutions, and she decided she was going to be fully present. This was the year that she was going to be, in the moment and not miss a thing. And by the end of this video of her trying these things, she's like on the floor with 2 young children crawling on her, disheveled, completely like exhausted. And she's like, there's a lot of reasons why people don't want to be fully present or be fully grounded in the moment, right? There's a lot of reasons why we might want to escape and not, again, stay anchored in the here and now. But to answer your question, one way that I find it is realistic to do that is by a phrase that I have been holding on to with both hands lately, which is to take in the good. Krista Tippett, who has a great podcast, it's not as good as this one,
right? Well,
but being, yeah. And she talks about telling the generative story of our time. So a fuller story than just the pain and fracture and suffering, which is important and is real and are the headlines, but that more life-giving, fuller picture of what is happening. So, for instance, the promise goes alongside of the pain, or the suffering alongside of the healing. So to be able to speak to the good that is happening in very real ways, that is something that I find to be very grounding, because it is a fuller picture. Yeah. And again, it's not that the awful isn't real. We're not like in some kind of artificial world we've created to escape, much as we'd like to at times. We are acknowledging the realness of the good that is happening alongside. And so one of the practices that looks like for me, which won't be revolutionary for folks, but I've recently re-engaged with a practice of gratefulness. GratefulLiving.org is an incredible resource for this. They talk about the transformative practice of living gratefully and how there's this whole branch of research called gratitude research that increasingly confirms that gratitude is good for our physical, mental, our whole well-being, our spiritual well-being, and is really that grounding that I think helps us remember that fuller generative story.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. What does, you just shared some of it, but I'm curious if you'd say more. What does resistance look like in ordinary, everyday life?
Yes, because that's the days we live in, isn't it? The ordinary, everyday life. And I love that Annie Dillard quote that the days we live become our life. Like that is life, is those ordinary moments. Well, I think for me, I mentioned the practice of gratitude, which can be, again, just a very important way to amplify the good, right? That's what it does. It puts a spotlight on and balances that out. I do love the idea of pursuing joy, and I'm going to read a very brief excerpt from an author, Ross Gay, who talks about finding joy in the midst of the pain. He says, "My hunch is that joy emerging from our common sorrow, which does not necessarily mean we have the same sorrows, but that we in common sorrow might draw us together. It might depolarize us and deatomize us enough that we can consider what in common we love. And though attending to what we hate in common is too often all the rage, noticing what we love in common and studying that might help us to survive. It's why I think joy, which gets us to love, as being a practice of survival." I know that is something that we hear a lot and is sometimes hard to metabolize into those ordinary moments, but I know for me those often look like ritual or being as present and relational as possible. I think sometimes we think of resistance as these grand gestures, right? When often they're relational. They are coming alongside a struggling neighbor or having patience with your kid trying to tie his shoes when you're late for school. Checking in with, your undocumented folks that run the Mexican restaurant in your neighborhood. Being faithful in those everyday acts can be really significant ways to show resistance and be able to participate and notice things like joy. One other thing I'll say, Molly, is that I do find that resistance in ordinary life can often look to like not equating abundant life to an overscheduled, overplanned, crazy life that is so easy to buy into. Like, I need to prove my worthiness by being an overproductive citizen who says yes to all the things, and exhaustion is the norm. And so prioritizing rest is really a way to also participate, I think, in resisting these systems that want to keep us in this frantic, crazy place where we can't show up and be fully present. We don't have the capacity to enjoy that cup of tea or the fact that the buds are coming out all around us in the trees, or to be able to take time to call and write our legislators. All of the things that are important to us, I think, can get hijacked when we're just in a place of being completely run down. And so I often think about that too, like what does prioritizing and scheduling rest look like? And I don't have to try to earn or deserve that. It's my right to not be a completely exhausted person. Which I need a banner in my living room that says that. But
right. Yes.
It is,
need it on a T-shirt, all of the above.
Yeah, I continue to work on it because it's important, and I don't have it yet, but I'm trying to figure that out.
I think that's, talking about, I think, capacity and recognizing your own capacity as a form of resistance is really important.
Yes.
As we continue to seek hope in a world that wants us to despair or overschedule or wants us to disconnect, I'm wondering if you would offer us a prayer as we go.
I would love that. I would love that. This is a prayer that I wrote. You tell me if I'm going to share one more quote. Is that okay
of
along
course,
these
of
lines?
course.
And then I'm going to end with a prayer.
Okay,
the
yes.
quote is just exactly kind of summarizing the things that I shared in those questions. And it's a quote by Parker Palmer that says, "It takes no special talent to look around our world and point out things that are numbing, depressing, and death-dealing. But becoming keenly and consistently aware of what's good, true, and beautiful demands discipline. We must open our eyes, minds, and hearts and keep them open." I feel like that is part of my prayer today, is to keep my eyes open, open to the good and open to the hard and terrible at the same time, to be able to have that fuller picture.
Yeah.
So here's my prayer that I would love to leave you all with today. Author of life, we see the essence of you in Christ's suffering and miracles. We hear your spirit in the wisdom behind the questions Jesus asked and in the voice that whispered, "Be still." We touch your being now through a child's hand and ours through quiet meditation. We thank you for revealing this life to us through a person, Jesus, and through the splendor of spring. Teach us to rise again with the grass and with every determined daffodil. Infuse this wild and inclusive Easter life into our routines, our reactions, our resistance. Let it set off a bell in our hearts that reverberates throughout the year. How we long to know the joy of this true connection with you, our life giver, who designs all things by love, with love, and for love. May it be so.
Thank you.